The second thing that I'm going to be saying to people this year is that you should expect good things. Expect good things at all times. Act like you expect good things. Go to bed thinking that something good is going to happen. Right? Check the email. Write the application. Send it. Right? Just do things because you expect good things. Hi. So, um, this is supposed to be my very first video of this year. My plan really is that I would do videos like this every day, except Saturday night stroke Sunday. And yeah, the goal really is actually to talk about just anything and everything that I can potentially share in the public. Um, but yeah, Happy New Year. And I think that, I've said that to a few people already today. The fun thing there was actually I realized that we're basically becoming like our parents again. Because I remember when I was growing up, my parents would typically spend hours making calls and, Christmas and New Year Day, talking to, our family members, our relatives, and eventually, we would invite a few people over, friends and all of that. And that really is my life today. But it's been fun as much as possible. So super grateful, and I really wish you a happy new year. I hope that things go well for you this year, and I think that will lead me into what I'll call like my 2025 review. It was really, and just to put it out there, my hardest year ever in my life. It was hard. It was, if I would put that into a metaphor or into something that is a little bit figurative for people to understand, I think I would say it was that kind of year where I felt like um, I was running a marathon. I wasn't winning, but then I wasn't stopping. So I just sort of kept running. And even though I was tired, but I just kept running and I kept running and I kept running. And the hope really is that, you know what, I may not win, but I'm not going to sort of like stop. And that was really what 2025 looked like for me. It was hard in every sense that I could potentially think about it. Um, but then also it was also a good time to build character. It was one of those moments where it allowed me some bit of time to also really process and ask myself really deep questions in terms of what I really want to do and where I want to be, the sort of things I really value and I really love. And I hope that, that becomes a big part of my journey moving forward into this year and the years to come if Christ tarries. And, you know, to put that into words really was somewhat difficult. I kind of like really started working on my year in review, as you would everyone. And yes, I mean, I have those ideas, but again, I felt at some point that it wasn't mine to share. There was no point. I wasn't sure why I needed to share that with the world in terms of the details of whatever happened. Maybe I'm the only one that was in that space where I didn't feel too comfortable sharing that bit of my life with everyone. But I can really summarize that. And even with the summary, I saw a tweet, I think from Audion of Piggyvest, where he was saying around, it's okay that you don't feel like you can share, your life in the open, even though there's nothing wrong with sharing that. I mean, that's me paraphrasing, but really for me, 2025 was hard. It was that strange kind of year. Um, but then again, I don't think that, we're here and we've survived it. We're now in 2026, and you can hope that new things are happening. You're in a new phase, you're learning something new potentially. 2026, what does it look like? Um, I think that this year is filled with a lot of optimism. And I think maybe that's one of the good things about thinking about cycles and thinking about life in cycles. It feels like there is a chapter that was ending last year, and now there's a new chapter that sort of started today being the first. And now it's about what do I want this year to look like. And I mean, I would say that, listening to Apostle Marion Heron's message, the overture message, and how it was in his brilliant way, explained James 3:4-5, I think. And you can only really plan, and you can trust God for it. And I think that's really my approach. But then also while you plan, one of the things I learned last year was the fact that, I wasn't probably bold enough. I did make a video earlier last year when I talked about the idea of being shameless. And that was supposed to be a challenge to myself in a way to be a lot more shameless in my approach to, my projects, my work, and putting myself out there. One of the things I sort of realized I did a lot of was I would typically do a lot of work, but I wasn't necessarily sharing a lot of that work in the public. And I wasn't somewhat comfortable, being the face of a lot of things. And this is something that I know personally, but again, being able to take that actual action and that step to break that sort of cycle was something I wasn't doing well last year. And when I think about this year, I think first is that I want to be a lot bolder, um, so to say. On the other hand, I think that I'm gonna, reduce what I call now the deposit of shame. And it's this idea that we as we grow older, we have a lot of self-awareness, and this sense of self-awareness comes with a sense of importance, and it puts us in some sort of box of this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do. And now I am thinking more in terms of this box that I have that has like some deposit of like shame, which is, oh yeah, I need to be, I need to have some sense of shame to not do certain things, or that is something that is stopping me from doing certain things. How about I sort of start thinking about breaking out of those and putting myself out a lot more? For instance, would would I be 10x better if I made a post on LinkedIn, even though I don't like it, every week? Would I be 10x better if I talked a little bit more about my work on Twitter? Would I be 10x better if I had like a public page where I could share a lot of my thoughts and conversations that I have with my friends, which a lot of them really do appreciate, for instance, and I share them publicly? What would that world look like? I don't have an idea. And that, I think that's one of the big problems. So this year is really me trying to, you know, be open about some of these ideas that I have and some of these thoughts that I have, and put them up. Some of them will be recorded, some of them will be streamed live, some of them would be, maybe just a post, some of them will actually just be scripted. It depends on how it comes. I was watching someone say something a few days back, and the person said that, oh, if you're looking for a niche, the niche is me. And I think that is what I want this sort of channel to be, and what I want my pages to be. It should be about me and not about me working in a category. And that will sort of like also sort of show in terms of how I live this year, really, the kind of things that I do, the kind of projects I'm interested in. And I hope that I can talk a little bit about some of those projects in another video. This is really me sort of saying, welcome to 2026, what to expect. And hopefully, I can come back to this video again if Christ tarries at the end of this year, and I can say, well, I wanted to be bold, and I wanted to do a few other things, and this is where I'm at right now. And that would be a very great sort of um video to have. I promise I would still do a video if I did not do these things. I hope I don't have to be in that place. But I think that's the first thing. The second thing really that I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about is the idea of expectations. And this would tie back into my third conversation, or my third point in this video. Um, this is when I talk about expectation. I was watching a video a few months back last year, and It was a YC founder, Y Combinator founder, and they were asking them, how do you really process things, or how do you do things? And the guy said something in the line of, he always expects good things. And that was a challenge to me, that if you expect good things, it will improve the way in which you think and do those things, or do the things where you're expecting good things from. So, for instance, if I expect that my work is going to get to the table of a president, I would do that work to the best of my ability. If I expect that, one day I'm going to run into, the president of a country, right? Then I would try to show up in every place where I think that person would be, with an expectation that that person will be there. I would try to attend certain events and all of that. And I think this again plays back into the idea of being bold, being courageous, doing things not necessarily because you're ashamed of them, or not necessarily because you like them, but because you actually want to do them, and because they are not necessarily the comfortable things that you actually want to do. And that's my second point. So this year, and if you would, I would say that you should expect good things. Expect that things will just work. Even if everything doesn't seem like it's going to work, expect that things would work. The best times of my life have been times when I've been very positive. I remember actually, a lot of my colleagues used to call me Be Happy, and that was because of the idea that I was constantly very positive about things. I would dance in the office. I would, you know, try to make people happy. I was positive about issues and technical issues that I would have and things like that. And I am going to be a lot more in that direction this year. So expecting good things is going to be a key thing for me. The third thing that I'm going to be talking, that I thought, how I would also be doing a lot more of this year is this idea of asking and knocking. Um, you really don't know how much you can do and how much you can get done by just asking questions. And even when you sell a product, if you're a product person, there is a saying that, pitch nothing, ask everything. And that is basically the approach this year. The more questions you ask, the more requests you can make, the better you can actually be at anything that you want to do. And this year, I'm going to be doing a lot of asking. It's a lot of asking for help. It's a lot of, asking for, for me to get certain things done, or bringing people on and asking for people to actually come on board with certain things and seeing how that would work. And that is basically one of the ways in which I know that I can then get a lot more people on the side of the things I actually want to truly do. So I'm saying all of this to say that, in this year, I'm going to be asking, I'm going to be knocking a lot of doors. Even the Bible says that ask and it shall be given unto you, right? Knock and the door shall be opened unto you. So if you're not knocking, if you're not asking, how do you expect to then get something back? So, yeah, this year I am going to be asking and knocking. So if you're watching this video and at some point I had to ask you for something, and maybe my first ask here would be that, please could you subscribe to this, subscribe to my channel. I am not going to be selling you anything per se, but I hope that, the conversations that we have would be useful to you. And tell a friend to watch this. This is first talking about myself, but I also do hope that, by watching this video, it also sets you on a path of what is great, for the for the year, and you can pick a few things, in terms of what works and what I think would work this year. Lastly, and I think this is probably something for you, is that the world is changing real fast. AI is everywhere. A lot of people are asking questions around, is AI going to take my job? Or how can I use AI to be better at my job? I would be doing a lot of conversations, either on this channel or probably on LinkedIn or wherever it may be. I'll keep you posted on that. But I'll be doing a lot of conversation on AI automation. I think that the work I've done over the last few years has been very centered around automation, and AI. And it will be my absolute pleasure to share. Uh, I hope that if I build enough sort of traction, and which is where I would also then need you, if I build enough traction, I would potentially write a book on hair automation. It would not be the regular this is how to automate using specific tools sort of documentation or book, but it would be the when how do you think about automation? Why should you automate? When should you automate? And how do you think about, like, the cost of automation and the return on that investment? And it would be very focused on technical and non-technical people. So you can think about it as like a management guide, right, to automation across different organizations. That is it. So just to talk a little bit about it, this year, and these are three things that I'm going to be doing. And I hope that you can also do those things as much as possible. Be bold and be shameless as much as possible. The second thing that I'm going to be saying to people this year is that you should expect good things. Expect good things at all times. Act like you expect good things. Go to bed thinking that something good is going to happen. Right? Check the email. Write the application. Send it, right? Just do things because you expect good things. Third is, ask and knock. Really, again, like I said, it ties back into the second step, right? And that's going to be my plan for the year. I hope that this year is really good for you, and thank you so much for staying back to watch this video. I hope that you really love it. Have a good time. Bye.